Welcome to Jack Howard Color, the podcast. Today's guest, I'm really proud to have on. Her name is Rachel Williams, Rachel W. Stylist on Instagram. She has a fantastic story that she's going to share with us. Welcome back to Jack Howard Color, the podcast. Today I am super excited. I'm recording this from the USA, which is really great, and I have a USA guest today. Her name is Rachel Williams. She's in Arkansas, Rachel W. Stylist on Instagram. Rachel and I connected a couple of years ago on Insta, and we've been following each other, and we finally got to meet up behind the chair. So Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So excited. I'm
super excited. I really want to, I've enjoyed talking to you, and, I think there's this really great connection we seem to have. But, you've been behind the chair for 21 years. I'm just going to read my notes here. You were a salon owner for 12 years. You trained under Michael O'Rourke in the USA, of course. You've been a BTC member since 2018. And then this year, you won One Shot overall winner for haircut. So congratulations on that. I was there that night to see you win that. So that's an amazing achievement.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Rachel, where did it all start for you, really? I want to know how the passion started.
So it started so young for me. I had my grandmother was a huge part of my life. She was Miss Arkansas. She was a beauty queen. And wouldn't leave the house without her, it was really important, to look nice in appearance and hold yourself really well. And that was her thing, and it was ingrained in me. And I just loved watching her get ready and put her eyebrows on and just all her jewelry and her hair. And I always have been drawn to hair. And I would sit there and just do her hair. And then I would do my mom's hair. And so it's always been a fascination with me, is just the beauty side of things. And so it's always been something I've been drawn to. So fast forward to getting as I, grew up in life, and I was in college, but I worked in a salon in college, and I ran the front desk and did all the appointments, and it was really awesome because I could be a part of this industry, and I just loved it.
So you left high school at 18.
Right.
And as they do in the USA, and then you went to college to study something. What did you go to study?
I was in criminal justice. So
wow.
I think I'm a detective part-time still. I wanted to be a FBI profiler, crime and investigation just always interested me as well. And I was, going to go to college, and I was going to be an FBI profiler.
Wow. I don't think I've met anybody that's wanted to do something so different from where they end up. So that's really interesting to me. But to pay for your way through college, which every American student has to do, you got yourself a part-time job in a salon.
I did. So I bartended and worked in a salon. So I had two jobs. And I would bartend at night, and then I would work at the salon part-time in between my classes and on weekends as well during the day, and then bartend at night. So it was always really busy, but I just I love hair. So it's kind of like two worlds pulling at you, and
yes.
I went and got my hair done. And I remember sitting there, and I had this amazing hairstylist, and she was so fun, and she was so cool, and the environment was so amazing. And she was a single mom, and she just I knew she made really good money, but she also really loved what she was doing. And that honestly was the moment as I was getting my hair done. It's I need to just do this. I love this atmosphere, and how she made me feel. I think, making the joy of us really making people feel good. That's satisfying to us as well. And so I was really just pulled. It pulled at me. And so I made the decision I was going to go to hair school.
And so your dad was in the military, of course.
Uh-huh.
What was the reaction at home when you said, okay, I'm going from criminology to hairdressing? It's a big shift.
It's a totally big shift. And my dad was very upset with me. I didn't get support from him. He just couldn't believe I would leave college. He couldn't believe I would make that decision, and it actually said some pretty cruel things to me. My mom, on the other hand, was very supportive. My grandmother was very supportive, but my father was not. And he later, about 15 years later, apologized, but it ended up sending one of my sisters to hair school. But yeah, it wasn't good. It didn't go over well with him, and he was actually very cruel about it, to be really honest.
At least he finally came around in the end. And I mean, it's surely now to see what you've done and with your career and where you've gone. I mean, it's amazing.
He's really proud now. And I think that, this in his mind, it was the typical hairstylist, reputation that we get, like the mindset that people have about hairstylists. And we talk about this a lot in our industry, is like, oh, we couldn't cut it in college, or we're lazy. We didn't go to school. We just sit around with our curling irons and gossip, about people with our clients. And we're just going to make the bare minimum because we're not intelligent. And so it's the typical, like, what he thought. Like, my dad is a military man, and his generation as well. So is, different. So it was a struggle at the beginning. But I didn't let that hinder me. And actually, it kind of just made me go harder too. It was like, all right, like, I'll show you. And and I did. So
yeah. I mean, obviously you're intelligent to be able to, in the traditional sense of the manner, to be able to go to university and study criminology and all those things. Do you think that skill set you up really well for your training in the industry?
I do. And it's interesting because, like, when you're in that type of work that I wanted to do, it's like really being able to read a situation and read people. And I think all of us, like, that are super successful are really good at that. Hairstylists have this ability, you have to read the room and read the client and know how to have conversation, know how to look at the signs of when they come in. You'll be able to assess them just by looking at them, like what their needs are, what their lifestyle is. And I think we're really good at zoning in on conversation as well, like having a topic that can open a client up. I think that it's an important attribute to have.
Yes.
When we're, dealing with people.
Yeah. I mean, people skills are super, super important, aren't they?
Right.
So you go to, and in America, of course, you have to do the college thing. You can't be an apprentice like you can in some European countries. So you have to go to college and you have to do your hours to get your license to practice. And so it was in Arkansas that you went to study, yeah? Or did you study somewhere else?
No, I was in this little town, Jacksonville, Arkansas. My husband at that time was in the Air Force. So it was this little hair school outside of the Air Force base.
Right.
And so I would go to night school because I had small children. So I would have the children in the day while my husband was at work. And then I would go to hair school from 5 to 9:30 at night. And it's a 1,500 hour, it does differ state to state. Some states require like 2,000 hours, like California requires more hours. So for where I was, it was 1,500 hours. And even though I was at this small hair school and it wasn't like a big, name or brand or whatever, I was really grateful because my the owner of the school, one of the instructors, she really taught us to open our minds and to really learn different lines and learn different ways, because we're all so unique. And so what one works for one person doesn't the other. And that was really her philosophy. And I also had my main instructor was Miss Carla Jones, and I still talk to her to this day.
Love it.
Was an amazing, strong Black woman. And she was actually the first Black student to go to Arthur's back in the day, and then became a hairstylist, became a barber instructor license, had it 2 salons and a barber salon, and also taught. And so I was really introduced to, that's a big thing right now, like, different textures and learning on everything. But I was always taught that.
Wow.
So because of my instructor, she made sure that we learned all textures of hair.
Yes.
Which was really amazing.
It's a huge conversation in the industry, in Europe and in the USA at the moment, because, talk about an industry that is divided in many ways, that, people aren't taught all different aspects of hair. And it's so nice to see that it's changing for the better. But it's also so wonderful to hear the stories of people who were trained in everything,
right?
In all types.
Right. And I'm very grateful to her. She taught me a lot of life lessons. She's just an amazing human being, and we still talk to this day. So I'm very grateful for that school. Like, I didn't go to a big fancy school, but I learned so much, and it's really helped me throughout my career as well.
Right. And so you did your 1,500 hours at night school. So that was even longer, right, to get through that.
Right. But I did switch to day school because I was like, I wanted to get into the salon. So my oldest son was in school. So I put my other 2 in a daycare so I could finish up faster. And I graduated. And after graduating, I went straight to, I was an assistant. So I picked like the hottest salon in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's the capital of Arkansas. And I was like, I want to learn from the best. I want to be the best, and I want to learn from the best. So I went to this amazing salon, and I got the job. I walked in, had a resume. We didn't have Instagram, and we didn't really email a lot. So I just walked in and made sure I looked nice and had a resume waiting for them. And I was interviewed right away, and I got the job. So I assisted under a color specialist for about almost a year. And then I moved to Texas after that.
Again, the whole thing about you come out of school with a qualification, right? So, you can set up shop, you can do whatever you want with that. But you took the path of actually going in, and so I've got my license, but now I need the skill sets to actually do the hair. I need to be in this environment to drive me and encourage me, which actually, in many ways, you've carried that through your life.
Yes. In
your career, that you've surrounded yourself with people that have supported you and helped you grow and developed you and kept you on your toes, which I think is the lesson in our industry anyway. Absolutely.
I always surround myself for people that inspire me, that I want to be like. I never, Mary, who's from behind the chair, I love this quote she said. She said, you never want to be the smartest person or the best in the room.
No.
So if you're the smartest or the best in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that really resonates, because I wholly agree with that. And, I was actually thought I was so good in hair school. And then when I was going into salons and putting resumes in, I was looking around at the work, and I was like, I know nothing. I am not good.
You've got to have some confidence, right? You've got to believe in yourself, though. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
You have to recognize that you might think you're the best, then suddenly maybe you're not.
Right. Yeah. And so I wanted to learn, and I wanted to know the business better. I wanted to be able to really bring it and learn how to, be successful and build a clientele in the right way. And I think that when you just get out of hair school and, get on a suite by yourself, or, you go to a salon that doesn't cater to education and to team building, then you really hinder yourself. And I think that's why a lot of stylists don't make it, and they end up doing something else because they, different decisions. And so, yeah, it was important for me to go assist. And then I had to move back to Texas. I worked in Texas for about 4 years, and I worked for Aveda after that. So, when I moved to Texas, I worked for an Aveda salon, and that, the great thing about that was they gave tons of education.
Yes.
And I really dived in the way that they do their color and mix it. So I really had to learn how to that color wheel, because in Aveda, they have neutrals with the pigments and you make the color. And so that was a whole nother concept. And, but it really taught me how to really understand color, the color wheel, and to be technical. So I again, that really helps me understand that part of our industry, which I love color. So
it's funny, isn't it? Because you come out of school thinking that you know it all and the stuff. And I think that there was a time when color was not necessarily the forefront of the industry. It was always the cutters at the front of the salon and the colorists at the back and whatever. And the color education didn't seem, well, it certainly wasn't for me. I didn't have access to really strong color education for a long time in my career. And I sort of avoided color because there is so much of it. And there's so much to learn, and you're continually learning through it. So again, you sort out a place where you could upskill yourself. So this is a theme that runs through your career.
Yes. And I just I always want, like I said, I always want to, if I'm weak at something, I want to go somewhere that I know that's going to make me strong at it and that I can learn. And so that was important, to be in a salon that really catered to color and education so I could get stronger and understand and be better at it.
And you also talk this bit's a huge conversation. Again, there seems to be there's so much change going on in the industry anyway. And you talk about surrounding yourself with people, and it's exactly how I feel. But about the people that leave the industry, the people that go straight into the suites and are working on their own. And there's something really isolating about that. Not to say that it's wrong, because of course not everything is for all of us.
Right.
But that idea of just working on your own, if you are not really truly motivated, I would feel that I would get left behind.
Absolutely.
In that.
I agree with you. And I think that, it's you're right. There's different strokes for different folks, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for the hairstylist that is newer and that doesn't have the experience, and I think it takes a good 5 years to even be where you can say, okay, I'm getting okay at this, I have a sturdy ground on this. But if you're not putting yourself in a place that can inspire you, help educate, that you can learn how to deal with building your clientele, how you can learn how to keep clients, you learn just the social aspect of how to run a business. If you don't do that, I feel like it really isn't, it puts you at a disadvantage. And I don't think you'll fully grasp your potential, because we all need, I don't care who you are. I personally like to surround myself with a team versus being in a suite by myself. Even after doing this 21 years. I think that's just really important for me, because that's food. That's food for the soul. It's food for it gives us the energy to keep on going. And when you take that away and haven't learned, there's so many layers in our industry. There's just too many to just put yourself in a room and not be able to experience that.
You also don't, besides not getting stuff, getting more knowledge, getting, learning how to do stuff. You also don't contribute.
Right. Unless
you've got a great network of people around you where you can get together. And I speak from that, and from a role where you're, sort of a global ambassador, but there's only one of you, right? And then who else do you talk to? Who else do you bounce off? Who can you pass stuff onto, as well as pick stuff up from? And I think it worries me that a lot of young people seem to think that that's the way to go. And we see too many of the problems of working in salons and in groups. We see too many of the downsides and not always enough of the positives.
Right. And I agree with you. And I will say, I guess when you really take the time to pick where you want to place yourself, is when you don't fall into toxic situations. I have been always very careful. Of picking of where I wanted to go. And I haven't ever been in an environment that I didn't gain from. And even if there might have been a toxic person, it wasn't a toxic salon. And in a positive salon, that toxic person doesn't last. And so
unless they own it.
Unless they own it. And I have never worked with somebody that was toxic that was an owner. I am 21 years and I've never experienced that. So that's, because of I'm very lucky. I don't know if it's luck, because I do really take my time, and I do research the salons I'm going to, and I go in the salon and I check it out. And, I always say, go get a blowout there. Before you, go into that salon and get a blowout and go just watch everything. I popped into a salon the other day. I mean, I'm looking for a base here in DC, right? And I popped into a salon and it was just an off chance. And I hope you don't mind. And I just wanted to have a look around. And I did that in London too. And it throws people off guard. I mean, I don't mean to do it, but it's I don't want to see the fake environment. I want to see it in its true form before I join. Right.
Kind of thing. But even if there are toxic people in there are toxic people everywhere in life. Right? I mean, in the Safeway, in the grocery store, there are toxic people. But you learn how to manage them, or how to manage that situation and not take it on board you. And I think they're great lessons in life.
One of my first, when I went to Aveda, and it really inspired me, and I got to experience two different situations in the same salon. And because it was such a new way to do color, I looked at this one stylist, and she was had been doing hair for a long time. And I looked at her and I asked her a question. I was like, hey, it was a color question, and she wasn't kidding. She looked right back at me and she goes, figure it out. I had to.
Ouch.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, but then there was another woman, and I can say her name. She's amazing. Her name was Kathy, and was just had done hair for so long and was this amazing colorist. She was so good. And she would let me sit in her room, let me mix up color, even though I was an assistant, I was a booth runner, and would teach me. And so I experienced two different situations in the same salon. What I would want to be like and what I never want to be like. And it really resonated with me. And if I didn't have that Kathy to come along and say, hey, I got you, and put her hand out and help me up, the younger stylist. I don't know if I would have I don't know if I would have stayed there. I don't know what would have happened, and so she really took me under her wing and was there for me. So that really stuck with me through my whole career, those two different situations.
There's the figure it out, or I'll help you figure it out. And that's the piece. It's I'll help you. And I think that's really, really, really fundamental for all of us in our careers, that we help each other, and we're known for it. We're known for helping new talent and for helping any talent, really. Right. So let's go back to Aveda, because we've digressed a bit, and of course we always do, don't we? 3 hours later, we still haven't ordered food. So you're at Aveda, you're learning their concepts, and you're booth renting at this point, which is like renting a chair if you're in Europe. How did you get into education?
Just after I kind of got on my feet, I actually relocated before I really got into education. So I ended up moving back to Arkansas. I moved to this little small town outside of Little Rock. And I worked for this, you talk about like just Still Magnolia's hair salon. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie with Dolly Parton.
I love that movie. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was like, oh, whoa, like they didn't foil, and they didn't like, their haircuts were like nothing. They weren't charged. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So what I did is open my own salon and took that on. And then I also had to train, because it really wasn't in that area. But I also did attract stylists that were go-getters as well. And I think your vibe attracts your tribe, and I was doing something different in this little bitty town. And I was like, people lived in this town and would commute to the big city to work. So this didn't, the whole, you're in a small town, you have to charge less, was like BS to me. I'm like, no, you work in the big town. Y'all live here because you don't want to pay for private schools, and the school districts are crazy in the big city. So you live here for the school district, but no, that didn't fly with me. So I wanted to create something different in this small town. And then with that, I had to train a lot of stylists. And I loved it. And I really just found my passion and, teaching. And it was just my people. I wasn't going in and teaching for brands or anything. It was just teaching within my salon and starting a mentor program for my stylists.
I love this.
So that's what started.
I love this. Rachel can't find what she wants, so she makes it happen. And that's it's a life choice, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I was like, hey, this is a growing place. No, I'm going to do this. I'm just, and people used to say, aren't you nervous? Aren't you scared? Isn't this scary for you to just do? And I was so confused by that. And I was like, no, why is that scary? It's just, I just wanted to create a space that was for me and my ideas. And so I didn't look at it as maybe ignorance is bliss, because I was young and was like, why not? Kind of thing. But I did it. And then I started training my staff and my stylists. And then the spark for education really, I loved doing it. So that led me to, I went to this hair show. Michael O'Rourke came to Little Rock. And at the time, he had just sold Big Sexy. And
Big Sexy Hair, for those of you that don't know.
Big Sexy Hair, yes. He had just sold that. And he started this sister company called Rock Your Hair. And he was going to launch it in the salons. And so he was doing this educational tour of his his hair cutting technique called Angles in Motion. And I wanted to take that class and get to learn, just learn about the product or whatever. So I went to this class and I just found that man. So he's a great educator, and his energy was just amazing. I mean, his accomplishments are amazing as well. He's NAHA awards, his story coming from South Africa as an orphan, he came to LA, everything was just, I really again, look up to people that create, I love that story, that come from nothing and build themselves up. There's no excuses, come to another country and do it, And so I really hit it off with I really hit it off with his daughter. Her name is Ashley O'Rourke, and she ran everything for him. And I was like, hey, how do I do this? how do I get on this team? And she kind of laughed at me. I go, no, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not being cute right now. She goes, oh, honey, you're not, are you? And I was like, no. And she's like, all right, well, I'll come to your salon tomorrow. And she did. And I just started, like, I didn't have my salon all like prettied yet. Like, it was still in the process. Like, I was like, oh my God, she's going to think whatever. And she didn't even blink once, like, at all. And she's like, I'll tell you what, you're going to come to the Institute of Courage. We teach, my dad teaches this weekend class, and it's in the Topanga Mountains in California. And we're going to bring you there, and you're going to take this class, and then we're going to talk from there. So I did that.
Did you have to pay for that class?
I did.
Yeah. They're quite a good marketing skill though, right?
I know. I didn't have to pay full price. Like, she did half it for me. But I did have to pay for it. And, at this time, like, the hair industry is so different than it is now. Like,
yes.
If you wanted on these teams, you paid for everything and you did free work. Like, there was no, I'm going to fly you down here and send you my products first. And like, I'm going to have this relationship with you. It was, you get your butt down here and let me see you work and let me see how bad you want it. And then I might talk to you. So yes. It was a little different.
But
I did that.
That doesn't happen either, though, unless you've got a lot of influence on an Instagram page. And we'll talk about Insta in a minute. I mean, you don't just open a shop and they say, oh, we'll fly you somewhere. You have to have something that somebody wants. And, again, you talked about Mary earlier. She talks about how, the industry's changed from the sort of, you assist backstage or you carry some carts in or something, and then somebody taps you on the shoulder and you gradually move up the steps. And, it was a different process to what it is today. But there are still steps, right? There are still steps that you have to take. Right. Yeah. You just have a little bit more control, or you think you have a little bit more control of it now. But let's go back. So we digress again. I love this about you. So you're there. You're in the mountains. You're doing his course.
I'm in the mountains. I did his course, and what an experience that was. Like, just it was. Again, it wasn't just that it was so many different parts to this class. It was a 2-day class, and it really just put more fire into me. And I was like, and I looked at Ashley, like, at the end of the class, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. What do I need to do? And she used to say, oh, darling, I'll call you. I'll let you know, darling. I'll let you know. And I looked at her and I grabbed her hand and I said, not aggressively, but I wanted her to know I meant it. I go, no, but I mean this. And she said, okay, darling, I will call you. And she did. So I did some more training I took some more training classes with how to do his technique. I learned some product classes of their product line. And then they brought me on to their hair show circuit. So I would go to these hair shows and I would set up the stage. I would unpack the crates. I would set up the stage. I would with her. She's a just amazing woman. And like the work, she just works like, and she would say, this is hard work, but you need to know how to do it with her accent. Like, you're going to have to know how to do this. Like you have to know everything about this. And so I would set it up with her. Then the thing about Michael Wark never leaves the stage. There are no breaks. The man will start when it starts. The only time he leaves the stage is when he goes to main stage, and they come straight back to that booth on stage, and he holds the crowd the whole time.
Yes.
And it's just nonstop. And so I would help blow dry, style, clean hair, like sell products, like whatever, nonstop. I would do that. After the show, I would pack up the stage. None of the other educators ever helped do that. And then as time went on, and I wouldn't get paid really for this. Like I didn't get paid for this, like at all. I would go to salons and help start accounts for their products. I went through Texas and did that for them. And I did a photo shoot. I got the model. It was for Allure magazine. I got the model. It's my clothes. I helped with it. And, you know, of course my name's not on it, but it was just part of it. So I did this for, you know, about 3 years. And then I was, at that time, you know, some personal things came up in my life. I wanted to sell my salon. I needed to zone in on my family and make some moves for my family. And also Rock Your Hair was kind of going more to like Walmart. They did a big deal with Walmart, and it wasn't going to be in salons exclusively. So I made the decision to leave the team and kind of focus on family for a little bit.
It's always women who have to tend to do these things, right? It's like, you know, careers, it seems like, you know, either with the single moms or, you know, whatever it is, moms, women don't get to just chase the dream. They also have to, it seems like, look after the kids and look after the home. And it's like there's all these things that you've got to juggle that a guy generally doesn't seem to have to do.
They generally don't. And also, like, you know, when we get into this is a conversation for when like Instagram happened, but like also doing this work with this, you know, with them taught me a lot. And I would see there were no women. I remember like there was probably Tabitha Coffey would be at the hair shows, and she was, you know, she still is, you know, part of our industry.
Yes.
Was the only really woman I would see on stage or like see like throughout the hair show that was like well known or given, you know, and it was men. It was men. And I did have an educator look back at me and say, I don't know why you think you're gonna be on stage. You're a woman. And that really came out of their mouth.
It's
really
horrific.
Came out of his mouth. He really did say that. He did say that to me.
And believed it.
But that was the attitude. Yeah. That just shows you. And I say this knowing that it wasn't the attitude of all men, but it was an attitude that was there and very strong, you know, in our industry. You know, an industry that sells billions of dollars to females and hairstylists. You know, if you look at our percentage, we're 98% women behind the chair.
And how come the men take get all the stages and all the glory, and they get to do, you know, travel the world and do all these things because, you know, that when things, you know, the women are at home with the kids, you know, or it's not even that, they're not even given the opportunity. Yeah. They weren't even given that kind of opportunity. And every brand didn't do that, but a lot of brands did. Yeah. And so, and it is what it is. And I'll say it's a generalism, right? It's not everybody. We're not tarnishing everybody with that, but it's a generalism. And I think it's a glaringly obvious one at that. But times have definitely changed.
Yes, they have. And you know what? Really, with the social media, with Instagram switching, and we have social media now, that really catapulted so many, and there's pros and cons to everything, but one of the major pros of that is it really highlighted, it gave, I know for me, I can speak for myself, way more opportunities, and I was taken way more seriously and more valued when you create this, you know, brand of yourself, and you show, and you have followers, and like, oh, people like this person, they like her. Yeah. And so it gives the educator more power that way. And so things shifted, I think, hugely because of that. It kind of broke down the good old boy club a little bit.
I think we've got lots to talk about on that one. So you take some time out the brand isn't going where you want to go anyway. You take some time out, focus on your family for a moment, which we all have to do in our lives.
Right.
And then where was Instagram at this point, and where were you on that?
Okay, so I took some time out. I sold my salon, and then right as I moved 3 hours away, so I came back to the hometown I was born, in Fayetteville and Arkansas, and I completely, you know, I don't like to say start over, but like I restarted my life, you know. Yes. And along that journey, I had a lot of losses too. So I had major losses, and I came to this town and kind of a shell was shocked by, like, in shock and trying to just get my life in order. And I had to build a clientele, and Instagram had just like gotten really big. And and there wasn't like any options for me to go to commission. So straight booth rent, straight booth rent. Again, I, researched and looked at strong salons and interviewed and got purposely picked the salon that, the salons I wanted to work at. And so I knew that I was in a good place to start. And I went home and I was really frustrated. And my daughter was 17 at the time. And I said, I don't know, like, this is, I don't know how I need to make money. Like, what do I do? Am I going to be able to do this? And she said, Mom, you're so good at this. This is what you love. Get on Instagram. You do it anyway, but really get on it. Change it to a business. Take all your personal stuff off of this and make this hair. And here's how you do hashtags. Wow. I was like, all right. So she actually, my daughter, Megan, is really was like, no, you're not quitting. This is what you do. And this is how you can do this. And that's what I did. And in 6 months, I was fully booked because I know how to hustle. I know how to climb. I know what it takes. Yes. And in 6 months, I was fully booked, and had even a wait list. And then I was like, all right, got my groove. I'm doing this. Now I want to get back in education. And so I see this, of course I follow behind the chair and all the, the big platforms and the brands, and really researched what they had to say and really listened to what they were looking for. And then I would go to the educators they were using, and I would look at them and listen to what made them, what makes them stand out and what makes them, the brands want them. And I really listened to that. This takes me back to the beginning of the conversation when you were doing the whole profiling thing at college, right? You were profiling the industry. Yes, absolutely. Seeing what other people do, seeing what other people are talking about, and seeing what resonates with the audience that you want is an incredibly important piece of what we need to do in our industry these days now. Absolutely. It's stop and listen and learn. Don't just flail around trying to just put things out there. I really wanted to do this and do it right. And so I did that. I listened to what Mary had to say. I would listen to other platforms. I would listen to brands. I listened to educators. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And so I just started posting and tagging, and I would tag local and, and for brands as well. And so I wanted to make sure I kept my local following and started going more national, and just hammering it out there every day. Taking the time to take pictures, taking the time to post and educate. And then One Shot came along. And I actually did always kind of entered contests, but I was like, I really need to do this right. And platinum was huge. Back to this day of hair school in my little bitty town, bleach and tones and full bleach and tones were what we were. Massive. Yeah. What we were taught. And so everybody's all scared of platinums, but I'm like, I've been doing this 21 years. Like, Miss Carla taught me this. Like, I got this, you know? Right. And so I was like, okay, I'm really good at this. And my area there wasn't a lot, no stylists were scared to do it. And it was like just exploding. And so I was like, I'm going to post this because I can show that I can do this. And so it was like posting platinums because that was really big. Platinums and like just the rainbow colors. I don't do those, but I do blondes, you know. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And so I went and got different people I would find locally through the Instagram and say, hey, will you be my model? Hey, will you be my model? We're gonna do this a year for free. You're coming in like a normal client. I'm going to schedule you. I'm doing this for free, but you're going to take pictures and you're going to let me take videos and all these things. And you're going to come with your makeup on. So that's what like I did for this contest.
And, you know, that's what I did to grow my account. I looked after certain key people and they all got their appointments they wanted. And, you know, I got content and they did selfies and, you know, I wanted the right type of imagery for my page. And the only way to get that right is, and it's not that it's free because you're not giving that, because they're actually giving you something back. It's like a barter, isn't it? It's you know, and it's such a clever and easy way to get content and get the kind of content you want by just setting aside time and thinking about it is that you're generating money in long-term versus short-term goals.
Absolutely. That you're right. And I 100% agree with that because it wasn't, and you know, I didn't do it just for one shot. I did it to track brands. I did it to gain a following. I did it to be taken seriously, to be like, who's this hairstylist? Who's this woman? Like, what can she do? And so I just kept on at it. Like I posted every day. You know, it is another job. Like it was, you know, I just kept on. And then I entered one shot and I was nominated.
Was that 2018 or was that before?
That was 2018, 19, 20, 21. So I entered one shot, 2018. So I think that was 2017. COVID has us a year taken. So I believe it was 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. I believe it's 2017 or 18. I'll have to look back. It's one of the two. COVID's kind of got me back a year. And I was nominated with Megan. So it was actually the hair show that was in San Antonio with Behind the Chair. So I was nominated with her and, you know, it just felt so good and gave me so much more confidence. Like you're doing this, they're seeing you've done something right. You're on this. My God, you know, you out of all this work, yours was picked, mine was picked. I didn't have big numbers. What you consider, they were big numbers to me, but it's not what fans consider big numbers. But so it was such an accomplishment, you know, for me, like a personal accomplishment. And so I did that. And then I was top 25 and at the show I was top 5. And wow, like it just put a fire under me. And then it just made me work harder. I was like, now I got to keep on bringing this. I got to keep on doing this. I got to work harder. So I continued to bust it out and do that.
Do you think that, I mean, it sounds a bit trifling really, but it obviously changed, being nominated changed how you saw yourself as well, right? And how other people saw you. Absolutely. Suddenly with it becomes this new pressure.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've got to enter it. You've got to enter it again, right? You can't just be a nominee. Right. You've got
so what are you going to do next?
Try and win it.
What are you going to do next?
What are you going to do next?
Are you going to win it? And I remember like what, you know, we're talking about Ashley O'Rourke, who I just adore and was just a big part of, you know, teaching me a lot of things about our industry. But she said, and she's a tough cookie. And she said, congratulations, and I'll do it again. And that's what she had to say about it. And I'm like, she's right. Like, oh gosh, now I have to really continue and elevate and get better and bring this. And it's, the climb is the fun part. And then it's like when you're not even at the top, but you're like at the ledge, like you're about to be like where you're getting up where you want to be. That's kind of scary because you gotta keep on elevating that. So yeah, it definitely does, change a lot of things.
I always think,
but I like that.
I always think it's like, well, you kind of think that that's where it's going to be.
Right.
And then you get there and then you're like, and you look up and it's like, oh my God.
There's so much more.
There's so much more. And I think that's what a driven person is about. And I think that if you got to this point, and there's nothing wrong with this point, if you got here and you're happy,
right,
fantastic.
Right.
But to grow, you can't just stay there for 10 years, can you? You've got to do something.
Right.
I would have personally, I would have to do something. I couldn't stay in one spot.
Me neither. And I think we connect so much with that because that same mindset. And I think it's a personality type as well, and what works for what's good for one person, the other person might want differently. And that's the beauty of our industry because there's so many different avenues you can take to fulfill those, different needs for different people.
Sam Walmart said, and I love this quote, somebody told me this years and years and years ago. He said that, in life, there's 1-packers, 2-packers, and 3-packers. A 1-packer can just do one thing, and a 2-packer can do multiple things, and a 3-packer can do it all. What you don't want is a room full of 3-packers, so you don't want a salon full of 3-packers. You want a selection of people. And when you surround yourself by motivated people, whether they just want to pack 1 bag at a time or whether they want to pack 3 bags at a time, that's the joy of our industry.
Absolutely.
Okay, so top 5, Rachel, top 5 for platinum. Top 5 is huge, right?
Yes.
Huge.
It was for me, especially, it was huge. Platinum was huge that year. It was like when it was exploding, and to be up there with people like that you inspire to, that their work inspires you and they inspire you as an artist was just like, oh my God, my picture's by theirs, like that was just, oh my goodness. It was just such an amazing experience. And it really put more fire under, in me to elevate myself. And I wanted to do more. And I wanted to win,
Wanted to win.
I wanted to win eventually. And just, at the time I still I didn't have a big following still, which you would consider a big following. And so I was like, okay, I gotta work on that following. I have to like really bring this work, I got to really bring it more. And so that was my goal. And I just kept on, and I got this message from Mary behind the chair, and I'll never forget it. I was doing a color correction, so I hadn't checked my phone. And I went in the back and I was taking my break, and I see that I have this DM from Mary, and my heart like dropped. I'm like, oh my God, Mary behind the chair is DMing me. Oh my God. And so I was kind of scared. I'm like, what does she want? And so I opened it up and I read it. And at that time, there was a lot of us in the back. They were eating lunch. And I just screamed, oh my God, like so loud. I think the front of the salon heard it too. It was like a true reaction. I almost I probably almost cried. Like I teared up and I was like, is this really happening? She sent me this message saying, hey, I wanted to reach out. I really love your work and I really love that, what you're doing. I usually don't ask, we know your numbers aren't real huge, but we value you and would love for you to be on the BTC team.
Oh. Wow, that's an achievement, isn't it?
Yes. And of course I was like shaking and being like, oh my gosh, yes, I will. Like what? And so that was the start of the BTC team. So that was almost not quite a year after I was nominated, but actually it was maybe a little over a year. So because BTC is August. No, it was actually not. It was about 5 months after I won. Didn't win. I placed top 5, which is a win. It's a win.
It's a win.
It's a win.
It's
just
totally
to
a win,
be nominated. What are you talking about, right? Like, what am I talking about? So that was a huge win for me, professionally and personally too. And so about 5 months later, she did ask me, I got that DM, and, just and then Haley and Christy got on and like introduced me. We had phone calls, and they were just so awesome and so supportive, and just started working with brands. And, I got worked with Aloxi for a long time, did a tour with Behind the Chair. They're on tour with Aloxi. I got, I've gotten to have these amazing experiences and been trained and all the things. So.
And BTC, of course, Mary's got this eye for talent, and she has foresight to see the way things that are going. I mean, nobody can take that away from her. I mean, what she's done for our industry is phenomenal.
Right.
And she was just really clued in. And against some really sort of negative pushback from a lot of people, she still succeeded and still supports so many people, myself included in that. Yeah,
she absolutely does. And, she still gets pushback. She still gets, and I think the person, we see this through the last 2 years, but like it's constantly, but she is such an amazing, what she's done for our industry, but what she's done for hairstylists.
Yes.
It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. Do they teams sort of show you, obviously you had your training, you've watched and seen stage work, and you've been part of that environment. Did the BTC team help coach you and support you in all of that? Because I suppose a lot of people wonder what that's about.
Right. So the BTC team, like, they definitely support you, but really, as far as training goes, they give you education. You have access to all the education, but it's like they make sure the brand educates you. Yeah. So that's what, like, I always call them like the hair agent. So they're like your, actors have agents, and they help with contracts, and they put you in the right places, and that's their job. And so that's what Behind the Chair does. And so they also make sure you're paid, and not 4 months down the road. You get paid that month.
Yes, we can laugh about that, but we know.
Right.
We know.
You know that 90 days later. Yeah, 90 days later. That's none of that. You get paid that month. You get paid. They make sure that you're protected in contracts, and that you're not taken advantage of where you can't work with other brands. Like all these different things in the legal aspect as well. They really look after you, and then they make sure, hey brand, you're going to train them, right? Like, we're not going to just throw our artists out there that have had no training and don't really know your brand. So that's what they do. And they really are there to protect the hairstylists. Yeah. The educators.
And it's brilliant, because I think a lot of hairdressers, and it's no offense, we don't get business training at school. No. And we don't necessarily understand contracts. I mean, you learn from your mistakes on them, but it's so nice that there are people that can support you and help you with that stuff, because it's a very difficult path to navigate, isn't it?
It definitely is. And nobody, like, I don't know the fine print, I don't know what, like, the legal, like when things are put in this legal, verbiage. And so they have their lawyer, they have their people that are like, what this means. Oh, yes. So it's really awesome what they do. And they really, they are really there. They've helped grow so many educators. And that's the thing. They want you to grow, and they're like, here you go fly. Yeah. They don't try to keep you and hold you to themselves either. They want you to take opportunity. And so they're just, they've been really amazing for our industry.
And it also, this promotion of talent based on talent is what I like about it too. And so you're seeing people that, you're like, oh, where did they pop from? Oh my God, they're really interesting. Let me follow that. And I think that's Instagram as well, isn't it? It's helped us see so many other people that we wouldn't, like you and me, we would never have got to meet, right?
Right. Like, you being in
different countries.
Different countries.
Yeah.
And like, how beautiful is that? Like, bringing our industry together like it has. So, with so many, like, there's pros and cons. Definitely such a pro to it. And like, Instagram, it really gives it gives the hairstylists in Fayetteville, Arkansas, a platform for other brands and to be national without having to move to LA,
LA
New York.
Or New York. Right.
Where usually we would have to move. Like, I remember when I graduated hair school and they were like, what do you want to do? And I go, I am going to do famous people's hair, but in order to do that, I would have to move to LA, and that wasn't in my cards through my life. But so it's like, I don't want to be famous, but I want my work to be famous kind of thing. And so
be recognized, right? Everyone wants to be recognized in some way or another.
Right. Yeah. And so that, Instagram has given that to, it's leveled the playing field.
Leveled the playing field. Absolutely.
Whether you're a man, woman, whatever you choose to be, and it doesn't matter where you live, it literally leveled. We all start from zero.
Yes. But you've got to put the work into it.
You do.
Do you know what I mean? If you don't do the work, then you won't. You can't expect Instagram to. Yeah.
It's like anything in life. If you don't put in the work, it's not going to come to you.
So you were definitely driven because you definitely put the work in, and you've done that all the way through your career. And it culminated, of course, this August. The highlight, one of the highlights of the year for you has to be winning One Shot for the haircut.
Oh my gosh. I'm still like on cloud 9 about that. Like, I'm still like, did this really happen? Yeah, I did. I won all over a haircut. It was with my shag haircut. I love shags. I know, I see them in the background. Look at you shagging it out.
I was inspired by you.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so wow, what an experience. The show itself was so inspiring, and just getting to be with hairstylists again after, almost 2 years. And just, we need each other.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to cry because we need each other. And we are the only ones that understand what it's like.
Yes.
And so we need each other, and we get strength from each other, and to be in person and just to have that energy, and that's just everyone supporting and being so grateful for each other and really humble. Like, there was such a humbleness about that show because everyone's just grateful to be there, and stylists coming from all over, and in the middle of the pandemic is still going on, and they're like, I need this.
Yeah.
And good, it just, it really meant a lot. And to win that category was huge, for me personally as well. And to be able to win during this particular show, I think really was, an amazing moment.
Family reunion, right? I mean, huge congratulations to you on that. I mean, I loved seeing you get up there. I loved your acceptance speech. I loved the fact that you won. But that weekend was just a weekend of badass, go-get, kick-ass people. The majority, 99% of the people at that event were women who were all juggling so many different things in their life. And I found it so inspirational to be in a room of people that I was absolutely awe of, like fanboy moments everywhere. And all these people doing what I want to do, right? The dream, go getting. And I came back really incredibly motivated and joyful from it. So that was cool. Plus, we got to meet properly.
I know, we got to hang out, and it was, I missed you. I was like, oh, why does he have to be so far away?
I'm not now. I know. It's still a plane ride, right?
Right.
But Rachel, massive congratulations on your career so far. And I think that if people aren't following you, I mean, they're gonna see, if they start following you, they're gonna see a fantastic journey ahead of you. I know that. I just got that gut feeling in me.
Oh,
thanks so much for coming on today. I do feel there's a part 2 in here. I really do.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I think we do have more to talk about.
I think we do. So I'd just like to thank you for coming on, and I think you're my first American guest while I'm in America, which is really nice.
Love it.
And I just wish you all the best in your career. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
So I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe on your channel that you download your podcasts from. iTunes is my favorite, but I know there are others out there. And also, if you want to follow me on stories on Instagram, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR, the American way, not the English way. And on Facebook, it's jackhowardcolor, COLOR. And my website is www.jackhowardcolor, COLOR.com.